Ho ho ho, how's everyone doing today? This is Chopping It Up Hardcore with Hal Kringle. Discussion number 96. Just kidding. My special guest today, Matt Messina, the legendary Matt Messina. I'm going to grab you in 2 seconds. Just rolling through some stuff. He was in Helen of Troy, one of my favorite bands of all time. Drug Camp, Baby Teeth, Free Republic of Soul. He's in Fake Piss now, Medicinal now, owner of Sunken Temple Records. The guy does it all, and I got big love for him, and it's a long time coming. I'm going to grab you right now.
Yo,
Yo, brother.
what's going on, Hal? Happy holidays,
Y'all, you
man. Happy New
hopefully had
Year.
a good Christmas, and wishing you a better New Year if Christmas wasn't great enough.
Yeah, no, it was good, man. I'm glad all that
Yeah.
baloney's over with now, though. It's like a weird time of year. We were talking the other day. It's like the depression after Christmas and just waiting to get to the nice weather. But yeah, no, holidays were
Good.
good.
Yeah,
Everything was
everything was
cool. How
sweet.
about you, man? Everything was good.
Yeah, I'm ready for the new year. Except I'll be in 2 days. I'll be 51 years old. So that's what the
Yeah,
Santa
buddy.
beard's for.
That's
Yep.
awesome. God bless,
Yeah.
man. 51, huh? That's what's up. Mike D is 51 too. You guys are like, you know, role models to aspire to. If we could look as good as you
Well,
guys when we're in our
thank you, man.
50s, we're going to be doing all right.
I know Mike D's an animal. He's a lot more busier than me though. So I got to take my hat off to him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a
definitely.
beast. That dude is a
First
beast.
off, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. I know it was a long time coming for me and you to talk, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
just
man.
a great honor to talk to you. I'm very envious of like what you've done in the past and what you're doing right now. So it's just great to talk to you, and very stoked on this.
It's wonderful to talk to you too, brother. Thank you so much, man. Super, super sweet words, brother. It has been a long time coming. It's like, and I was talking with some of the other dudes like Antonio and Mike just about how, like, even though we're not from the same exact area, we're from the same scene in the same time frame, and like we intersected but never really knew each other, but yet it feels like we've
Yeah,
been friends for
yeah,
100 years. So you're
right. Yeah,
you're
you
part of the
too.
family,
Like
no
you,
question.
Vinny,
Hell yeah.
Antonio, Mike D, all those guys. It's like very special to me, and it's just awesome
Hell
to
yeah.
talk. I just wanted to, usually you've seen these talks before. First off, I always ask, what were you listening to as a kid? And then what kind of got you into the punk hardcore scene once you finally found that?
Okay. Well, when I was a kid, I kind of grew up with like a lot of like R&B and soul in the house, and like a good amount of Elvis too. So like I had a love for like the blues and like R&B and B and like soul music, from an early age. And then I guess I got into, punk how most people do. Like a friend of yours hits you off with a tape and he's like, yo, check this out. We're skateboarding and somebody's playing something. You're like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's Minor Threat. And like I started hearing music like that, and my mind was blown. Then I heard Nation of Ulysses, like in the vein of that, that Discord stuff. And I heard that band, and I was just like, there's a whole nother world of music out there, and this is like the world that I belong to. So that was kind of like, around 15, 16 when I started getting into that
What,
stuff.
what bands kind of really hooked you though? What were you into that you listened to all the time? Once you did finally start listening to hardcore stuff, what was some of your favorites of?
Well, it's funny, like the Operation Ivy record was nuts. Definitely Minor Threat, like, blew my mind. I couldn't stop listening to that. I still listen to that, like, on a regular basis. Like, that Minor Threat shit was just bananas. But then once I got introduced to, like the San Diego sound and stuff, like, 52X on Long Island was playing music like that, and, like, no one else was. And, like, out west, like, Angel Hair and Antioch Arrow and Heroin and, like, Swing Kids, like, bands like that, really, all those GSL and Gravity bands, like that's what really like spun my head. And I was just like, this is, this is where I need to be, and this is the music that I love, and these are like my people, you know. And it's crazy, like thinking about that time. I can remember that feeling like so distinctly, just being like, all right, I'm home now. Like this is what's up, you know, and being able to get into all of the wonderful bands, just, you know, just being introduced to, like, you know, a little bit of underground as, you know, as a kid by a friend of mine, and it took off. And, you know, here we are, I'm 45 and still like grinding, trying to do bands and do a
That's
label and
awesome.
shit. So
Now, were you
it's
New
cool, man.
York
Yeah.
hardcore big thing for you back then? Because I know being like for me, being a Boston kid back then, I mean SSD was probably like and Jerry's Kids and Gangrene and stuff like that was kind of my first introduction into like punky hardcore type of stuff. But then the New York hardcore stuff really like grabbed me with like the Bold and the Agnostic Front and Youth stuff like that. Now, was that something
Right,
big for
right.
you back then, or did you kind of just
I mean, it was. I love, like, I used to go to Sick of It All shows and Madball shows, and like I love that stuff. VOD, Vision of Disorder, they were from my town, like on Long Island. So as a young kid, you know, when I was in my teens, I was able to see those dudes play live, and like that was incredible. And they were amazing. And yeah, I mean, like the New York hardcore thing was definitely like a period of time for me. But then, you know, once, like I said, once I started finding like good screamy, like wild stuff that, you know, I hadn't heard prior to
yeah,
literally like seeing the 52X, was like, you know, that opened me up to everything that I, you know, progressed into now. And like I listen to a ton of stuff. I listen to a lot of hip hop, and I listen to, like, you know, a lot of indie rock and stuff like that. And I mean, music is music, and it's all wonderful. But you know, as far as the hardcore thing, like the Long Island hardcore scene was strong, and like the New York hardcore scene was crazy. So like those are, you know, those earlier days and going to shows at CBs and stuff, like on a Monday night to see Bloodlet, and like, you know, just wild, you know, awesome, crazy shows, crazy energy. Like, yeah, New York was the spot for it. It's funny because I grew up on Long Island, and when I was going into like junior high school, my parents
yeah,
moved to Pennsylvania, so I went to high school in PA. And then like 2 weeks after I graduated, I moved back to Long Island. That was 1995. And I was like 17 going on 18. And that was when I met like Vinny and Sean and like all those dudes, you know, through like skating. Like I moved into the town that they lived in, and I was living with my uncle. And we all like linked up, and it's, you know, going on like 28 years. We've all still
yeah,
been friends and been playing music together still, like
yeah. That's
since then, which is
now.
which
Were
is
you
awesome. So
big like goer to the PWAC down there with like Artie?
oh hell yeah, dude! Those PWAC shows were bananas, man. I mean, so I mean, from 52X shows, VOD played there a bunch. Like Avail there with Silent Majority was like bananas. I mean, there's so many good shows there. You know, there's a lot of great Long Island bands too, like Scapegrace, Millhouse. Like, you know, there's just a list of bands from that time that were like super influential. You know, and Silent Majority, Glassjaw was starting up, and they were like popping, and you know, there was just a lot of good music, man, and a lot of, you know, a lot of fun music too, like bands
Yeah,
like No Redeeming Social Value and stuff. Like, just a great, you know, group of people at an awesome time, and like the music that came out of it. It was funny too because shows were always like mixed as far as like genres and stuff. I mean, I know it's, you know, the genre heavy needing to label shit now is like super important or whatever, but back then it really didn't matter. Like
yeah,
every type of band played with every type of band, from the most brutal to the softest, and like everything in between, and everybody was friends. And you know, it was just,
yeah.
yeah, it was all that. Those
I
PWAC
was
days were
talking to
sick,
Artie
man.
about that
Yeah,
those days and like how the music kind of
hell yeah.
spanned, like you were saying, all over the place because you would have like a, you know, say like a Still Suit or Millhouse play, and then you know VOD and stuff like that. It was just like an array of different.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
POD and like Garden Variety, like crazy combinations of bands like that. Yeah, yeah, it was nuts, man. And it's cool, and like that's really how it should be. It sucks, you know, when you go to a show and like kind of every band sounds exactly the same, or pretty damn close. Like it's nice to have the variety. And you know, when Helen was touring and active, our like brother band from Long Island was this band Heston Rifle, and they were like an instrumental band, like no vocals or whatever, and they were insane, like brutal. They were a combination of
yeah,
like shellac and like tristeza. They were really wild, super energetic, and yeah, man, like that was the movement back then. It was like we would play together all the time. We toured together, and we were both doing very different things,
Yeah.
but the combination
Yeah,
together was really nice, you
that
know.
New York
So,
heavier style kind of caught me. I always talk about when I went to Tin Can Full of Dreams. I forget what year it was. It might have been in.
uh,
I'm not sure exactly what year it was, but it was. That's where I saw Murdoch and I saw Devola and I States of Seeds played
hell
that and
yeah,
Satan played that and
absolutely.
like that's what put me on that trajectory to listen to like CR and like all like that's when I kind of got into
Right,
like
right.
really screamy stuff because I was more into like the metalcore kind of stuff like Sons of Abraham and um you know just like heavier stuff like you know Urge and the early Cave-In because like I'm not a fan of like the singy Cave-In style. I like
Yeah, no, but the early stuff, like Beyond Hypothermia and like that early stuff, I saw them when they had two singers and they were like straight edge.
oh
And they were
yeah,
like
Ross,
touring with
yeah,
that band Roswell from
yeah.
Massachusetts. And Roswell was ridiculous, but Cave-In they were so sick. Like those early Cave-In years were incredible. They were an excellent band. That's like a partial answer to my favorite New England band,
We'll get into
the Liz.
that. um, so now kind of I'm gonna kind of get into the bands that you were in. You know, I was razzing you a little bit about Jabberwocky. I mean, was that kind of your first band that you were in before you and Vinny kind of? Oh, you weren't.
I
He said
wasn't
you
in that band.
were. I thought you
Nah,
did vocals.
no, no, no.
No, I thought I
Were
was
you
talking to
talking to
Vinny
Mecca
about
about
that.
that?
Oh,
Oh,
that wasn't
maybe.
you.
Yeah, no, that wasn't me. No, no. Vinny and I did a band like an early band. We were teenagers. He was an even younger teenager because he's like 2.5 years younger than me. So he was like 14 or 15, and I was like 17 or 18, something like that. And we did this band, Transformation of Self, and it was funny. We were playing a
Yeah.
friend of ours, this girl. It was her Sweet 16, and we were playing with these other two dudes, and the guy Ron, who was the guitar player, we were all like into acid and like tripping out and stuff a lot back then. And that dude Ron he was into that as well. And you know, he was kind of hippie-ish, and he kind of bugged out in the middle of we were covering a Rocket
Yeah.
from the Crypt song, that song Used off Scream. And like in the middle of the song, he went into some other like I don't know, some hippie shit. And like it was funny. Like Vinny quit after the show. He was like, "I'm done with this shit." It was hilarious. And that was like the beginning of the stupidity of all of us with doing bands and just being lunatics. But yeah, shortly after that, I wound up moving back upstate for like 8 months, and I started this band with my buddy Brian Straub from New Jersey called Kill the Traitor, and that was probably 96 into 97 that winter. And yeah, we were like amped and writing songs and stuff and getting ready to play live. And at that time, Closure had broken up. So Mike Treff hit me up and he was like, "Yo, we have a couple of shows booked for Closure that we're not going to play, but I could probably get you guys on the bills." So I was like, "Oh, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Whatever." So he hooked it up, and our first show was with like Still Life and the Deadwood Divine and this dude Tom Lamacchio. It was crazy. And this band Monument from Long Island, and like an offshoot States of Seeds band, which was like Miles, Adam, Antonio, and the drummer Dan. They did this band Frida Kahlo, and I think it was the only performance that they ever did, but they were incredible. I have pictures from that show. But yeah, like that was our first show was Kill the Trader. We didn't last long, maybe like a year and a half, and then we broke up like Halloween of I think like '98. Our last show was at the Joint in Staten Island. The show was stacked too. It was like uh, iRobot, Devola, Seisha, Your Adversary, Cable Car Theory. It was like insane. And that was the last show that we played. But I remember like those early ABC shows and shit, like when Seisha
Mm.
first played there, I think Ethel Reserve played that show. And yeah, and it was at ABC. And it was just incredible. And then like the States of Seeds, um, I was living with Antonio at the time. They had already started the band and they were doing, they were touring and stuff at that point. But even from like the formation of that band, we
Mhm.
were all going to Nassau Community College at the time. And I remember like watching those dudes, like hanging out in Antonio's kitchen with like Mecca and like Daryl from Glassjaw and shit. And like, cause Daryl was in States of Seeds originally. And, you know, drinking 40s, and like they were talking about like the edicts and the fucking, you know, all the misinformation that they wanted to like fuck with people about and shit. And it was awesome. And I was just, you know, blown away that my friends were like so creative and so fucking like amped to do something so sick, and all the energy that they put into that shit. Bob English, like those dudes, man, and that period of time was super special. I feel like throughout the course of my life, I've always been blessed to be in like a great place at the time when special shit is happening, and I'm able to like witness that shit and like soak all of that in, you know. It's really been cool. So sorry, I know in Italian they would call me a chiacchierone, which is somebody that never shuts up. So I get off topic and I go on tangents. So
No,
you got to yank the brains back.
I love that. Yeah, Stacy Seeds, I've always said that band is super underrated. Doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, the first release on Level Lane, just an incredible record. It's like
So awesome.
You could put that out now and people would be like, holy shit, like what is this? And it would.
It needs to be put out now. It needs to be put out. I know they're trying to get it up on digital platforms so that people can hear it, and hopefully there'll be some work towards getting it, you know, mastered again and maybe mixed again and, you know, put back out, because people need that record, that band and that record, like beyond influential. Even though like those dudes are my closest friends, like same thing with gospel, like such influential musicians, like in my life and in the lives of many people. And it's just, you know, it's amazing to see these dudes and like what they do and how they work, like their formulas and just how everything gets put together. It's been definitely an incredible ride.
I agree. I was blown away when I saw him too. Vinny's on here right now, so it must have been Mecca. It must have been Mecca that was in Jabberwocky and not you. He probably said Matt, and I thought it was you. So he said it was like jammy, like Rush sounding like.
I think that was him and Sean. I think Sean and him probably did that. Was that?
I want to hear some Jabberwocky on online. Let's get that up there. So when Helen formed, how did that kind of form? I know I've asked Vinny about this before, but and also Vinny had mentioned that you, or I don't know if it was you or Mecca that kind of got him into that style of music, because he wasn't really into the screamy kind of stuff at that point.
Yeah. I was kind of trying to put him on to all the stuff that had been blowing my mind. You know, when we decided, so Helen was like, I guess, a concept that I was messing with for a while, and I was trying to figure it out. And I knew, you know, since I met Vinny, he was the best drummer I had ever heard. So like, you know, when we were young, we made a pact, like we'll always play music together. We'll always be in bands together, no matter what. So, you know, anything I ever do or want to do, like that's the cornerstone that I build from, is like, it's Vinny and then everything else, always. Like, that's just how it is in my head. So I was living with Antonio. We were renting the upstairs of his mom's house in Rockville Center, which is the town that they're all from. And we were right next door to this supermarket called Associated. So I was working in the deli there. And I think Vinny worked in that deli for a little while too. But our boy Jeff, who was the original guitar player in Helen, him and I worked there together. And we started hanging out. He was like, yeah, you know, I've been writing some songs. Do you want to hear them? So I was like, hell yeah. So he came over with a guitar and shit, played some shit on acoustic. And I was like, yo, these songs are sick. So I guess we linked up, obviously, with Vinny and Sean. And we started, you know, writing songs and playing music. And the concept of Helen of Troy was we wrote an entire set so that we could play one show and then just break up. Like Vinny's sister, she's like, she does sick art and stuff, and she like made mass cards, and it was like the suicide of Helen of Troy, and it was just like the date. It was basically the show information, but like in mass card form with like a Blessed Mother on it and shit. It was crazy. And that was the whole idea, was like, we're going to just play one show and then break up. And we had a blast doing it. So we were like, well, fuck that idea. We'll just keep playing. So we ended up playing. But we started that. It was like the winter of 98 into 99. We started, you know, putting shit together, putting pieces together in the apartment and like, you know, getting it going in the studio. And then like I guess 2099 into 2000 we started playing live, and then we broke up the end of '03. So that's kind of like the timeline.
Yeah,
Bunch of
with
tours and
like
stuff. A
your
lot of good
releases though,
times.
was there a demo before like the split with Cobra Khan or the Desperation EP? Was there? Oh,
So no, that was the
the very
first.
first thing. Like,
Desperation EP was the first release. Yeah, and that was
yeah,
Mecca started Tokyo Fist to put that out. He was like, "Yo, like I'll put it out. I'll start a label." We're like, "Awesome!" So like, that was like the birth of Tokyo Fist, and that was the first release, the Desperation EP. Yeah, Mecca did like the cover of it and shit. And he was like, all about doing a label. So we were like, "Yeah, that's great. Let's do it." And yeah, and then we did the split with Cobra Khan, that 7 inch.
yeah,
We
it was
did a
one
split with
song, right?
Fork and Knife, which
Just
was
one
like
song on there.
we had one song on it, and I think Fork and Knife had two, and it was Cosmonaut put that out, and there was like a tour edition. We did
Yeah,
like silkscreen covers for, which were pretty cool. And
well,
yeah, what else did we do?
yeah,
Well, we of course the Race Band and Split, which was like the In Sound tour support. That was awesome. That's one of my favorites. That Race Band, one of the best bands and my favorite bands of all time. Incredible, man. Like any question or any story you want to hear about tour, like race touring with Race Band was bananas. Like those early days, it was so much
yeah,
fun, man.
that's awesome. I mean, the
Yeah.
Desperation EP, I played the fuck out of that when I heard that. I might have been a little bit late on that though, because like I think the first song I heard was Mascara, and then once I heard that, I ate up
Okay.
everything that was
Yeah.
out, and then trying to
Hell yeah.
like as the years went on while you guys were playing, I was anything that you guys released, I tried to get my hands on as I agree with
Right
Race
on.
Band though too. One of my favorites. I mean, it was an honor to talk to James. Like, what a mind.
Hell yeah. Yeah, he's a sweetheart, man. James is awesome. Yeah, man. That band was just
Mm,
nuts being able to see them every night. You know, it's like seeing like the
yeah,
Melvins every night or something like that. You know, it was like it was bananas. It was so good. Yeah, man, it was wild. That after that, we did a full U.S. tour with them in '03, and then like that summer we got home and we kind of like were like on the
yeah,
verge of, because that was kind of when gospel was kind of forming. I was supposed to get married, move upstate, and we were talking about slowing it down or ending it, and then we wound up breaking up, and we played a last show like I think it was like December,
mm,
like the end of December of '03, because our boy Evan Kilgore, who did, I don't know if he still does it, but I know he did Waking Records. Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
Oh hell yeah!
yeah,
Is that Times Are Hard for Dreamers? That comp? Yeah, man.
yeah.
That's a beautiful. Yeah, that's a
Layouts.
beautiful comp.
Yeah,
That layout is sick. But he put out the last EP that we did on CD. The yeah, for all who
yeah,
have sailed far and seas, the Goodbye EP. And yeah, he's a super awesome dude,
yeah.
and
That
love the hell out of that guy,
three
man.
tour was that was the emergency root canal tour. Is that what it was called? Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that being said, um, like what? Give me one crazy story about that tour that you can remember with Race Band and like.
Well, I gotta. Yeah, I have to. I can't
Well, not
incriminate
too crazy.
people. I have to. I have to watch what I say. But no, no, it wasn't. It wasn't terrible like that. But no, I mean there was a show that we played. We set up facing each other and played song for song back and forth across like that shit is bananas. I don't know if anyone's ever done that before, and like, not that it matters, but that shit was incredible. I mean, you can't put your finger on any one show. There was a show in a town in Minnesota, and it was cold. This wasn't a summertime. I don't think this was a summertime thing because we were fucking freezing. Like you could see your breath, and it was in the Mankato, Minnesota. It was in a barn, and it was sick. There was like 200 kids in like this giant ass barn, and we were like freezing our asses off. And fucking Race Band and tore it down. And for like night
Yeah,
to night, we would switch who would play first, who would play second, just to like break it up. And we were playing after them that night, and it was like, yo, why the fuck are we even gonna play after these dudes just played? Like they just destroyed shit. So, but that was like a nightly occurrence with them. Like anytime those dudes hit the stage, it was fucking demolition derby. They were fucking monsters, bro. Monsters. So they just re-released James on Master Control just re-released that Satan's Kicking Your Dick in fucking 20th anniversary, which is awesome. So if you didn't get that yet, tell the kids, man, pick that shit up.
Like, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I want to shine Helen of Troy too, because, you know, that's another band, like I said, States of Siege. You can go back and listen to it, and if it came out this right now, people would be into it. Same thing with Helen of Troy. I mean, the music is fucking ridiculous, and like, I feel like people should go back and listen because it's so good. I know you guys don't think the recording is what you want.
We never transferred well on recordings, unfortunately. I don't know what it was. Like, we worked with this dude, Peter Cole, early on, and he was a great guy. I don't think he knew how to, like, transfer our sound or, like, necessarily mix our sound or whatever. But, you know, it was, like, trial and error back then. And we were just about playing live. Like, the live show, that's what it was about, you know? Like, that was, you know, all the energy came out, like, and that was what I lived for. Like, there was just a point where I was like, yo, I want to tour, and I want to, like, that's all I want to do. So I just, you know, I reached out to friends and got, like, whatever contacts they had and, like, just tried to piece it together. And this was before, like, the internet and shit. You know, we used to use, like, road atlases that were, like, this big, you know, and map everything out. And you could go on MapQuest and, like, print shit out. But, like, yeah, there was no phones with internet or any of that. It was wild, man. But it was fun. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it would put you, like, in the boonies a lot of times, too.
If you had, like, instant messenger, like, you would have to, like, the AOL stuff, like,
Those are the MySpace days.
I always tell, like, setting up shows back then, I'd have to write people fucking letters and be like, hey, do you want to play this show? And wait, like, weeks for a reply. And then it was a struggle, like, a day. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, crazy. Leaving answering machine messages for people. Yeah, nuts. I have a story about that later, but go ahead.
So when Helen ended, what was kind of next for you? I know, like, drug camp was that the next thing, or I know you.
So drug camp was kind of like this. So in, I guess, 2004, I got married and I moved to, like, kind of upstate New York, not far, like 2 hours away, near, like, Middletown. And I had this, like, big garage there. So Vinny had a drum kit set up there. We had, like, Sean's, like, bass rig, huge monster thing in there. Bunch of guitar cabinets, some keyboards and stuff. So, and a PA. So it was cool. So we would, like, play. So when people would come up for the weekend, you know, we'd get rocked up and we'd, you know, go a little crazy and play music. And it was kind of a revolving lineup of, you know, just lunatics, I guess. So it was, you know, Mike Gisulo and, like, John Florencio at that time. And then, you know, Vinny and Sean when they were around, Bass God, you know, just whoever happened to be around and was coming through. And we would just, you know, make wild shit. And when I'd come down to Long Island, we'd go in the studio and get messed up and, you know, and make music. But that was really more fun than anything. But I guess, like, Baby Teeth was kind of right out of Helen, kind of right into Baby Teeth. And that was cool because Bob English from Edgar and all the legendary Long Island basement shows that he had in his mom's basement. So him and Mike Treff, who was in Closure, those two dudes were, like, playing music together, like guitar, like writing songs together and, you know, putting together ideas because they wanted to do a band. And then they wound up asking a friend of ours, Tim O'Shaughnessy, to play bass. And I think that they had gone to school together, him and Bobby. And Timmy's a sick bass player, so they started doing that. And then they got Ben Van Dyke to play drums from Silent Majority and a ton of other things. And that dude is brilliant too. So it was like this insane lineup of dudes. And then they approached me and they were like, yo, we have this band. We're playing some music like this. And we have, like, 6 or 8 songs. Do you want to try to sing? So I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like, that's amazing, you know. But I was nervous as fuck. I'm like, yo, man, I got to, like, do some good shit with these guys. I can't fuck this up, you know. So, yeah, it was funny, man. But it was great. You know, I went down. I met them at the studio. And, like, we fucked around and played some music, drank some beer, and it was like, the shoe fit right off the rip. So it was nice. And we did that strong for a little bit. We're actually trying to rekindle that right now because we need to document those songs properly. And like we had, some recordings of the songs, but they weren't proper and we weren't able to, do anything with them because we didn't have the data on them. So I figured we might try to record them again. So yeah, man. So stay tuned for news on that because, that could definitely be an interesting thing. That band was incredible, man. That was such a fun band to be in and, like, to play with those guys. And just, we have this text thread that it's like beer porn and, like, record porn. And that's, like, all you see in it. And we're always bullshitting and talking. But, yeah, man, it's awesome to just, to be friends with those guys and to, be able to get back
That's
into
awesome.
doing some
And
music together with
the
them.
song that I heard that you sent me, like,
Yeah.
dude, your vocals are like always on point. Like you could go from like
Right on,
screaming
man.
to like
Thank you.
the regular singing type of stuff, and it just sounds like like it just goes together. You know what I mean? Your voice is like really, like,
It's because my mom got me into Elvis as a child. So. Right on, man. Thank you, though. That's awesome.
I was gonna ask you about
yeah.
I Am the Resurrection. You had a small stint in that band as well, correct?
Yeah, like they had invited me to like sing with them on a bunch of shows, like towards the end of the tour we did together, and then like some shows afterwards, and that was a blast. That band was insane. I mean, at that point, it was kind of like a party version of that band, just kind of like keeping those songs alive and keeping them going for kids to see, and like being able to play them because they were fun. But yeah, the original I Am the Resurrection, the band on the record, phenomenal, man. And like, I don't know, especially like touring together. That was the first Helen and Troy tour, was the first time the Resurrection tour. We did that together. It was like 3.5 weeks, like full East Coast and like a little bit West. Like, I don't know if we went as far as Texas, but like at least Louisiana. That might have been when we met Evan, actually, because I think we played in Baton Rouge on that tour. And we met Evan because he was down there before he came up north here. But yeah, man, that was some wild shit.
Off Minor, I Am the Resurrection split. Like,
that's one of the most immaculate splits. That's up there with like the Puritan Reversal of Man and like the Shotmaker Max Colby. Like, there's a handful of splits that you can't fuck with, and like that IATR shit.
It's one
right
of the
there,
craziest.
Man.
Like, one of my favorite ones that I always say is the Race Band and To Dream of Autumn split, because that Race Band and song with the beatboxing in it is by my favorite Race Band and song of all time.
Yeah,
Once I was young when I heard that, I was like, holy fuck, this shit is wild. I was like,
that was some wild shit.
Crazy. So in between all this stuff, was there a lull before you started kind of like your newer bands now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. There was definitely a lull. So I guess I'm trying to remember like time frames. I went through a windshield in '09, so my memory is a little scrambled at times. But I feel like Baby Teeth, Free Republic, we broke up probably in like '06-ish. That was kind of around the time Gospel broke up too, initially, and then they got back together in 2010, I think. But yeah, I was living upstate and like whatever, and then I wound up going through like a divorce with my ex-wife. Well, now my ex-wife, and I have 2 daughters with her, teenage daughters, as you know, because you also are part of that club, the Teenage Daughter Club, which is wild, man. Strap in for that. That's why God made cannabis. I'm a big believer in cannabis, man. The medicine. This is the Weed Fog basement for those that don't know. This is where it goes down, the lab. Anyway, enough of that.
No, I had I see mine was way like before I had gotten married. Like, I was huge burner. Like, I went through, like, it was weird with me. I was like straight edge for years. Then I did like a ton of drugs. Then I went straight edge again, and then I smoked a ton of weed, like a ton of weed, like for years and years and years. And then I met my wife, and it kind of, within like the first 2 years, I kind of quit everything, and I was still drinking, for a while, but now I haven't touched a drop of alcohol in almost 3 years. So back to the
That's awesome,
back to
man.
the straight edge
Congrats,
thing,
bro.
I
That's
guess.
sick. That's great though, man. That's good, man. That's healthy living. Unfortunately I'm a beer drinker. I like a bit of bourbon too. But the cannabis, that's the medicine. I don't do
No,
any drugs. Like I don't think
definitely.
that's a drug. So, but I do definitely
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
need
mean,
that thing in my life. It's nice.
it's good to take the stress
It's
away. With
nice.
you know what I mean? That's probably why I'm all balled up with anxiety all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, that
trying
stress
to
is
cut
no
it
good.
out as
Stress
much
is a
as
killer. So you
yeah,
gotta
definitely.
and keep that PMA,
Yeah,
right?
I wanted to speak about fake piss because when I heard that, I was like once again always blown away by what you guys do. You know, Antonio, Mike D, Vin, Sean. Like I know there's
It's awesome.
it's like two other people in the band too, right?
So so Antonio and I sing. Um, Mike DiLorenzo and Justin Kajowski are the guitar players. Mike D from 1,000 Bands. He's Big Brother, man. He's a maniac. He's actually playing tonight. He's in that band Death Cycle, and they're playing tonight in Brooklyn. So hopefully people can get out to that show. But yeah, so it's him and Justin from Christhead. He's the other guitar player, and then Sean Miller plays bass, and Vinny plays drums. We were all in Helen together, and they do gospel. And then our boy Jay Newman, he plays keyboard. He's a beast. He's in Unearthly Trance. He's like a lunatic. So yeah, there's 7 of us. Did I mention all 7 of us? Yeah, right. I think so. Yeah. So, but yeah, super fun, man. It's kind of remote because
Yeah,
Antonio lives, excuse me, in Indiana, and Mike D is literally in I think 9 or 10 bands. It's possible 10 bands that he's in. Um, So, and he's got, and
yeah,
plus he has like a serious job too, which is nuts. So, everybody's got stuff going on, but we have a split 7 inch
oh
that
nice.
will be coming out with Wenches. And that'll be like a collaborative effort of Master Control, which is James's label from Wenches. And then Sunken Temple, and then Antonio's label,
Sick.
Small Hand Factory. So we're gonna do like a split 7. So we're really excited about that. We have the music finished finally, so it's just getting mixed, and yeah, that should be out middle of the year, hopefully. Not too
Yeah,
long. You know how that
yeah, it's great.
vinyl thing is
What
these
about
days.
shows though? Is do you have any show? I know Antonio's in Indiana, and like it's 7 people together to play
Right.
a show.
I mean, it would be a wonderful thing to play a show with those dudes. Like the putting together of that band was like dudes that I always wanted to play with, and I thought would be cool together in a band, and just like wanted to do a band with all those guys at the same time, and was like, fuck it, we'll see what happens, because everybody kind of knew each
Yeah,
other, but not everyone like really knew each other. So it's really cool to like bring everyone together and like see what comes out, because it's
yeah,
7 different inputs into like one thing. And we've been in the room, all of us together, I think 2 times. So the rest of it is remote, which is a learning curve for me, and I believe a few of us. But Mike D is like a seasoned vet, so he's kind of like teaching us how to do all this shit. So we're making it happen. And the Medicinal thing is cool too, because it's just Vinny, Mike, myself, and our boy Steve, who has the studio that we do everything at, Milo, which is like down the block from us. Vinny lives across the street, as you know. Sean's like a couple blocks away. Justin's up
yeah.
the block. Like the studio's right here. So yeah, it's cool, man. We kind of have a nice
Yeah,
little neighborhood.
I can't wait to hear
We're
that
all
medicinal stuff.
close.
That's sounds like it's right up my alley. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, man. I'll send you some stuff definitely. But yeah, we're potentially gonna do a release of
which
some sort with our buddy Ron,
which
who
he's
does
on
Gene
here right now
Synchronous.
too as
So
well.
hell yeah. What's up, Home
Vinny
Slice?
says I look like Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, he's a fool, but yeah, it's I can see it a little bit.
Yeah,
That's
I
not a
mean
bad thing. Kenny
he's
Rogers
a
is the
just
shit.
looking gentleman. I mean,
Hell
I'll
yeah.
I'm trying to think of a Kenny Rogers song that
Absolutely.
I can sing, but I
Absolutely.
can't. He didn't do.
I had it. I had a cowboy shirt that he made or gave his likeness to, because there was like a stitched picture of him, and like in cowboy rope it said Kenny Rogers like on the tag. It was the sickest shirt, but I was like 110 pounds when I had that shirt, so now I'm twice that.
Did Kenny
Thank God for
Rogers do that song with
IPAs, right?
was it Dolly Parton, Islands in the Stream? Yeah, I could
I
sing that
think
for
so.
you, Vinny, if you
Oh,
want.
yeah. That would be incredible.
Yeah, so
Right.
when are we going to be able to hear some Medicinal stuff? When is that actually going to drop?
I mean, as roughly the drop date I don't really have yet, but I put a reel up the other day of just one song. It's called Diary of an Insomniac, and it's the whole song musically. You can see it. It's on my Instagram shit. So but I'll send, like I said, I'll send you some other stuff that we have. But it's cool because the process is very, very interesting to me. I love it. Vinny just the other night was in the studio and recorded drums, and basically what he does is he comes up with the cadence and the song in his head, and he records the drums and then sends them to Mike, and then Mike plays guitar over the drums and then bounces it to Steve, who plays bass, and then I do vocals. And like it's a different approach, but I love it. And I think that playing with these genius dudes all the time, you get spoiled a little bit, because it's like they're always like, oh yeah, here's like an immaculate 40 seconds of music, so like scream your head off and have
definitely.
fun. It's fucking
Yeah,
incredible.
definitely.
Couldn't ask for
I
more.
agree.
Yeah, because I'm done playing guitar and lugging around instruments and gear and shit, and changing strings. Nah, and I suck the guitar anyway, so I mean it was fun, but it was for a purpose. It needed to
Yeah.
be, somebody had to play guitar, so I played guitar. But yeah, I like just doing vocals is
Yeah.
is
And now I
where I
saw
need to
Helen of
be at.
Troy. I was talking to Vinny about this, like, in Massachusetts somewhere, but I can't remember. I don't know if it was like Worcester or I don't know. I don't think it was in Boston. I'm pretty sure you guys played in Worcester. Like,
We did, and we did play in Boston also.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
'02, maybe '03. Yeah. Um, yeah, Vinny took a short vacation from Helen for a little bit, and we had this dude Josh that played with us. Actually, Richie Muller played with us too for like a short period of time. But then Vinny was done with vacation, thank God, so he came back and he played with us again, and we finished out, with him. But yeah, I think I'm sorry, Hal, man. That's that windshield
Old age
memory.
gets
It's
me.
it's difficult for me.
Yeah.
To
Yeah. I think it
yeah.
might have been 2002 because I don't think it was 2003. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think in '03 we went out in March, and then we went out like May, June, and then we kind of chilled, and then we
Yeah.
played
And
like
then
a
I
last show in
obviously
December, I
remember
think.
the gospel show in Atkinson, New Hampshire, the hottest fuck one where that,
Oh yeah,
that was crazy.
that poor girl
Yeah, she
passed
fell into
out.
the
Yeah, that
amps
shit was
and
crazy.
gospel stopped and
That was wild, man. I felt so bad. Yeah, that shit was hot as balls. I think, weren't you saying you were the only guy wearing shorts? We all
yeah, it
had
was like
pants on, right?
110 in that place, and I was the only one with shorts on. Everyone else had jeans on. I was like, gee.
Yeah, we're like, we're emo. We wear black jeans in
Yeah, it
120
was
degree
crazy.
heat. We
And
don't care.
lucky enough to get that videotape of you, doing the song Ghost and Gun. Is that the Ghost and Gun, right? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I love that song. The song's
So
so
when
much fun. That's where I'm at now. That like minute and a half, like period of time. That's perfect, because my
yeah,
lungs can't do too much more than that. So that's all the Medicinal songs are like 36
yeah,
seconds to
yeah.
like a
That's sick.
minute
That's
two.
sick. Now,
So
for all the shows that you've played and all the bands you played, because you always save like the greatest flyers and you have like tons of pictures and stuff like that. Like, what are some of the bands that you like really enjoyed watching? Like, going on tour so much and seeing bands and being friends with bands. Like, what bands kind of wowed you back then when you played with them?
well, other than race banning,
Yeah, just that you
just
like
bands we
enjoy.
played with. City of Caterpillar is one of the sickest bands I've ever seen or played with. But just they were incredible. Obviously, like Page 99 was incredible. We played with fucking High on Fire and Mastodon in Austin, and that was bananas. And I'm like a big Matt Pike fan, and I like broke a bunch of strings, and he like gave me his guitar, and I played his guitar. It was like the craziest shit. But yeah, man. And I mean, every band for the most part that we, continued to play with over the years, it was always like family, especially like the Indiana kids, man, like the Fuck Fright family, and they like blessed us in as like New York Fuck Fright, and like those dudes are our family. But like James, Antonio, that whole race band and crew, like all those lunatics from Bloomington, you know. But yeah, it was beautiful. Later on, like Kodan Armada, those kids, love those kids. Yeah, we were just, fortunate to be around beautiful, awesome people all the time. It was funny, we kind of had a reputation for being party strong, I guess. So like an unnamed collective in Pittsburgh like denied us a show because they were like, yeah, we heard you guys party like way too hard, and we don't want that shit here. Like, all right, cool. This was after they like were setting a show up already, but then somebody on the collective board was like, no, hell no, those dudes are lunatics. But I respect it, and we weren't that bad. We just we had a good time.
Because I see the flyers and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys have played with like the who's who of like heavy screamy bands back then, you know what I mean? In all your bands, honestly, because I saw like the Free Republic of Soul flyer with the Red Light Sting, you know what I mean? And
hell yeah, Knitting Factory, that was a sick show. We played with like Your Future, which Sonny K, like the root of everything for me is like Angel Hair and like Sonny K and every band he was ever in. But that Your Future, it was Your Future, Go 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 Earhart, and Decahedron, who were fucking incredible. I don't know if you ever heard them. Love It was putting out their record at the time. And like Joe Lally was in that band. They were bananas. But that show was nuts. Yeah, that Red Light Sting show was fun too. I had to handle a beam on stage. I was like sharing it with the kids.
Yeah, it's so fun to see old flyers and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's awesome to see bands like old bands making new Instagrams and stuff like that. Now you see like Hassan I Sabah doing it, like in loving memory is getting back together again, like, which is fun too. Like,
hell yeah. Hassan I Sabah is the other part of the answer to favorite New England band. Just I know we didn't get to it yet, so
I know the funny.
So good. Yeah, they just popped an Instagram, which if people aren't following it, they should. But yeah, that shit is dope. It's nice to see, to be able to like reconnect with people and connect with people that you weren't able to before now because this internet bullshit. So
we might have to do a two-part here because like I said, I'm locked down on my regular Instagram, but I think we have maybe, I don't know, 12 minutes or so here before they fucking put the timer on me. Yeah.
Give us
so,
hook.
I guess, I guess I could do some rapid fire. You ready for some rapid fire? Yeah, let's rock some rapid fire here. Well, you kind of answered the first question, but I'll say it anyways. All-time favorite hardcore band from New England?
So, Botch is also part of that. Hassan I Sabah, absolutely incredible band. Botch is bananas. That early Cave-In stuff is nuts. Converge is incredible.
Botch, though, is from Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
No.
All right.
I wish they were from
Boston. See? That burnout head. So, yeah, no Boston. But I still love them.
My second question. What was your first real hardcore show you attended? Like a real one, not like a Battle of the Bands type of one.
Saw Vision of Disorder at the Right Track Inn. Some kid got his leg broken in the pit. It was crazy.
Definitely. Number 3. What was the first show you played live? Like a real
and stuff?
venue.
that that killed the Trader Show in, I think it was either 96 or 97, with Still Life at the Unitarian Church in Bayshore. That was our first like real show, and we played in a backyard with Franklin and that band, the Starlight Desperation. It was like
Wow,
a
that's sick. That
backyard
is
party.
sick.
It was sick. They showed up in the little
Nice.
school bus they had,
That's
Franklin.
crazy.
It was nuts.
My next question: all-time favorite show you performed?
Um, I mean, I have a lot of love for a lot of shows and a lot of places
Maybe
and a lot of people, so that's difficult
give
for
me a
me.
couple.
I, th- I think performance-wise, we played Helen played a show in Auburn, Alabama with Conan Armada, and I Would Set Myself on Fire for You. They were from Georgia, and they were homeboys back then too. We love those kids. And we were on acid. No, I'm sorry, we were on mushrooms. I was on mushrooms for like 2 weeks, and but it was like a beautiful time, and I was like, everything was really flowing right. And we played at this house, and it was like 5 or 6 girls that were going to like the university, and they were students there, and they like had this house, and they did shows and got like kegs and like cooked food, and it was amazing. And we played in my opinion, that was like the best performance we ever had. And yeah, so that's definitely
sick.
up there.
I always ask. Oh, actually, I forgot. All-time favorite show you saw but didn't perform at. A show you went to that was like your all-time favorite.
Wow. Like every State Secede show was amazing. So those are all my favorite. That's hard to say. I've seen like awesome shows from like Godspeed You Black Emperor and like, this church. It was like ridiculous. And they had all this audio visual stuff going on. So but that's a tough one, man. Yeah, I'm just gonna stick with every State Secede show because they were all incredible. There was one in Philly one time that Seisha was supposed to play. They couldn't make it because this like blizzard was happening, and it was like 12 degrees, and like the guitar players in State were playing with like gloves on their hands. It was in this like freezing ass place, and then this crazy storm came and nobody could like travel, so it took us like 12 hours to go like 40 miles. And it was this crazy blizzard. That was probably like 97.
That's wild.
That was crazy.
I always ask too, I'm a big movie guy. Everybody knows that. What was the last movie you watched?
I just watched that Elvis movie, and I thought it was great. I thought that kid did a great job, and he did he did justice to the Elvis persona. I didn't really like how they like just kind of jumped ahead, and like all of a sudden he was like old and fat and then like strung out and dead. So they kind of like skipped over a lot of stuff. But yeah, that was the last movie that I actually watched.
That told me that the movie was a lot about the manager and not Elvis per se.
Yeah, it was kind of just about how the Colonel was like. I mean, it was illustrating that he was a piece of shit, basically. If you haven't seen it, it's a good watch.
I haven't seen it. The last movie I saw was Violent Night, the Santa movie where he kicks everybody's ass. It's like John Wick Santa Claus style. So
that's hilarious.
My next question always kind of wraps in with the movie thing. What's your favorite horror movie?
I don't really mess with horror because I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to that shit. I saw the Blair Witch, and that shit scared me for like 2 years. I couldn't go like near woods and shit. I was like, nah, staying in cities all the time. Fuck that Blair Witch. Like, I hated that shit. So I'm not really like into horror. And like Vinny and Mike, like they always clown me. They're like, this fucking guy, he's like scared of horror movies. But yeah, I don't watch them. Sorry.
That's all right. And I also, everybody knows I listen to hip hop and love old school '90s hip hop and stuff like that. I know you're a hip hop fan as well. If you've been listening to hip hop, what have you been listening to lately?
Well, I never stopped listening to A$AP Rock. He's one of my favorites all time. And he's always like putting new stuff out. But yeah, I've been listening to him a lot. Rock Marcy, he's a beast. West Side Gun is a beast. There's not a ton of newer artists that I'm really amped on. I love the Vinny Paz camp, like anything that him, Jedi Mind, Army to Pharaohs, Heavy
Yeah.
Metal Kings, anything him and Ill Bill do, like that
No,
whole
you
stuff, like
like
right up my alley,
the
definitely.
Czarface stuff that.
Oh, hell yeah, absolutely. And like Run the Jewels, of course. My wife got me this awesome hoodie. I don't know if you saw this shit. Yeah, it was from that summer tour, and I was like, I told her at the time, I was like, yeah, I need that hoodie, and she like got it for me, and gave it to me for Christmas, which was awesome. So,
My next question: do you have any like newer bands, like heavy style, maybe streamy type of stuff that you've been listening to that maybe needs to get some shine that maybe somebody else hasn't heard right now? What bands kind of are like you're into that are newer now?
that's rough, man. That people haven't heard, probably nothing. I haven't heard anything like new that no one else has heard. But I mean, there's a lot of bands that, and it's funny too, because I don't even want to say, because I don't know if they're exactly new or not, but they're new to me. So, but yeah, that band Chalk Hands is incredible. Sean put me onto them. He was like, "Yo, this band is sick," because Dog Nights put out their release as well as the gospel releases. So yeah, so they're really good. That band Jillian Carter, I know they've been around for a while too. They're incredible. Howick, that band Howick, oh my god, dude, it's bananas. I'm so happy that there's bands like that that can still like do shit like they're doing. They're so good. But yeah, other than that, I feel like just anything my friends are doing, I'm always amped on. So anything that Mike D's in, you got to support.
Yeah.
Always kill your idols, absolutely. To the end. So yeah, and these gospel motherfuckers, incredible, and they're still going strong. They got plans and shit's coming, so that's awesome.
Top 10 list is just Noble Obscura is so good too. They're so good. There's so many new bands that are so good, and that's another thing. I love talking about old stuff that people forget, but I love talking about new stuff too. That kind of, the drummer of The Critic. You remember The Critic and Furnace? He like hadn't even heard that gospel got back together and put out a new album, and I'm like, oh dude, this shit is fire. So like that's me just putting shine on these bands and like new old bands. That's what I'm trying to do here. You know what I mean? So that's why I always say, like, go back and listen to fucking Helen of Troy. Like, if you never heard that, you love gospel now and you love the Luther, go back and listen to Helen of Troy. That shit is fucking bomb. And that's why I do the things I do here, talking to people that I love and the music that I love. It's just a labor of love for me, definitely.
Absolutely, man. I'm sad that you're wrapping this up after 100. I'm glad that you got me in under the wire there, man. I'm excited.
Yeah,
and this is the last one of the year, too. So
I'm trying to do 102 of these so I can get 100 on YouTube. I have 2 that are lost that I might do later on. Dimitri from Dillinger Escape Plan kind of got lost, and Kathleen from Circle Taste of Square got lost too. Those talks were amazing, and I'm super pissed that those didn't save. And he said he heard Helen of Troy was milked and straight edge. Yes, you guys are going to do an Earth Crisis Helen of Troy split.
Yeah, right. Hell yeah.
But
Vincenz,
I want to thank you so much for doing this. Really honor.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Just a pleasure. And I know this next year something's gonna happen where we're all together, whether it be like me, you, Vinny, Antonio, Ron from the scene, like Mike D, everybody. Like,
yeah, Ron's gonna be doing a fest, I think. So whatever happens, we'll be out there, man. In every and any form or
I'll be there
fashion,
as
we'll be out
well.
there.
So Pittsburgh, Pitt,
We'll
Pittsburgh is
have
the
to
meeting
coordinate,
place in
definitely.
2023.
Hell
Once in
yeah.
a
Do you
great
ever
while,
come to
I
New
do.
York?
Yeah, you'll have to.
You're always welcome. You always have a bed to sleep in, some good
Definitely.
food,
Thank
man. Come
you.
through
Same thing
anytime.
with you guys.
Be awesome.
You ever go up? I mean, I'm right over the border of Massachusetts, so I'm not way up in New Hampshire. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
not far.
I
Hell yeah.
want you to have a great New
Right on,
Year's,
man.
and definitely we're always in touch and stuff like that. Anything I can do for you, I'd love to do it. Whether you guys,
Absolutely.
are setting up shows and you need something in New Hampshire, shit, I'll open my basement up for you guys. You guys will do a little basement show up in suburbs of.
Hell yeah. I'll play anybody's house, anybody's basement, anytime, anywhere. I just got to get the
Yeah,
rest of these guys
but we'll
to,
drag it.
to
We'll
come
drag.
with me.
I'll,
Then we'll do it. Yeah, we'll figure that out, definitely. Going forward, it would be wonderful to be able to do something live with, either of those formations, whether it be Fake Piss, which would be immaculate because Fake Piss is fucking eternal. So like, no matter what, it's the seven of us, and it's like fuck around and find out. That's what we're about with the seven, and that shit. It's hard to make it happen, but if we could make it happen live, it would be wonderful. If not, hopefully we could do something
oh, well,
medicinal.
you know
We'll
what's
figure it
funny?
out though, definitely.
This should have knocked me off in a minute. Let's see if it's knocking me off, because if it doesn't, then we can stay on here for a second. Just usually it gives me a timer for a 2-minute timer. Instagram, uh, they just fucking hate me. So
Yeah, what the fuck is
it's
that
like
about? Why do they have so much
stupid as
beef with you?
shit too. Like the first time was like an anti-racist like post that I did, and then this was like I told you some stupid fucking thing where a girl was mouthing an argument about Wizard of Oz, and then all of a sudden I go live, my last live, and I'm like, holy shit, I go live, so I had to jump on this one, yeah, backup page. I made this
That's
backup
crazy.
page because
For these situations, because
no, it
they
wasn't
have
because of
something
that. It was
against you
because
for some reason.
yeah, Ryan McKinney
That's
from
crazy.
Trap Them and Backstabbers. He doesn't do any social media, so I had to create an IG farm so that he so that he could use this one.
Just to
Yeah,
do it, yeah. Hell
so
yeah.
I'm still
That's
holding on
awesome,
to
man.
this one,
Hell
and
yeah.
thank God for good measure. You know what I mean? Well, it looks like they're not going to kick us
Definitely.
off, so that's good. I wanted to I want to talk
What else
about
do you want to
Sunken
know?
Temple Records, man. We didn't get to that. How did
Okay.
that start?
Awesome.
And tell me, like, that's still going strong because A Piece of the Beast compilation was fucking rad as fuck. Like,
Awesome, man. Thank you. Hell yeah. Yeah, super proud of that release. Mecca and I did that together. That was Tokyo Fist and Sunken Temple, man. And the bands, there's 12 bands on that shit, and they all fucking are flame. Everything is beautiful with that comp. It was funny too, because when we were first talking about doing a release together, we were talking about maybe doing like a split 7-inch or like a 4-way split. And then I was like, let's do a comp. Comp would be awesome. And we were going to stop at 8 bands, and then it became 10, and then it was 12. And it made sense. So yeah, that was a super fun labor of love. A lot of work, but it's got a 16-page booklet, 6x9 booklet. Came out really nice. And yeah, a lot of work. Vinny's sister, Jess, he has 2 sisters, Melissa and Jessica, but Jessica helped me with the label, with all the artwork for that, for the Christ Head release, which was just before the Fake Piss release. So, and the Rahim release, which was that double cassette, and that was like a elaborate multi-panel laid out that interconnect between booklets to make one image. So it was like a lot of upside down, wild artwork stuff. So she's a brilliant genius and a blessing. Amazing. but yeah, I've been fortunate to have like awesome people being able to help me. My buddy Dalton had started helping me in the beginning. Me and this dude, Mike Gisulo, were talking about doing a label, and he was like, yo, you should do a label to put that Helen stuff that never came out. You should put it out and like not wait for any other label to do it or whatever. So he's like, just, we'll do our own label. So I was like, all right, cool. So then I started the label, and then he kind of didn't want to do anything with the label, but he was in the 52X, and we got that release out, which was like one of the mission points of starting the label was like, get the Helen stuff out, get the 52X stuff out, the Last Crime stuff. And then we got blessed with the CR stuff because Mike D was like, yeah, man, you can do this thing. And we were like, oh shit. And that was actually my only release that I ever, it sold out like quickly, and
Yeah.
I like didn't lose money on it. Like everything else, I'm still in the red, which is fine, you know, and again, it's a labor of love. So it's for documentation. Like there are things that need to be in physical form. So if I can have a hand in doing it, that's
well,
awesome, you know?
and you dabble in cassettes and vinyl. You haven't stretched to CDs at all, correct?
No, not yet. On the Christhead release, the band did CDs. They did a limited version of 25 of them. That 25 of the cassette orders got the disc with the cassette. But yeah, that's as far as we've gone with anything on CD. Yeah. But yeah, no, vinyl and cassette. I mean, cassette is awesome because that's the vehicle, you know, that I got into everything that, you know, I heard Nation Ulysses on a tape, and I was like, oh shit, this is mind blowing. And like, you'd make tapes for your friends or for like a girl or whatever and be like, you know, craft that shit and put it together. And it was like, you figured out how to like lay out a set of songs, you know, and how they interworked with each other and shit. And you were able to do that on tape. So that was, you know, that's like your, it's like suckling at the teat, you know, when you're a baby, you always go to the teat.
And I don't know anybody who doesn't like it, you know?
No, tapes are cool, man. And it's a quick and relatively easy way, it's, you know, to be a vehicle for music to get out and to be in physical form. So it's a lot of fun to do it too. We try to have fun. We do like exclusive stickers for every release, and you know, we put work into like the digital download cards to make them look nice, and you know, we just try to make it sexy. Everything's hand numbered out of 100. We never repress anything, so
the
you know,
cool
it's like
thing
baseball
about
cards.
the piece too is you like, I think it was smart too to not just stick it all on like your Bandcamp so people could just hear it. Like people, like you want to hear it, you go buy the fucking vinyl. You know what I'm saying? Very smart.
With a release like that. Yep. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, no, that was kind of the point. You know what I mean? Like Bandcamp, whatever. I guess it's a vehicle for a lot of people and whatever, but they definitely get their end and then some. So, you know, whatever. But yeah, we don't sell anything physical through them. It's just digital. But yeah, with the comp, it was like, if you want this, you'll get it digitally with the vinyl.
Yeah,
but you have to buy the vinyl.
Very smart. Again, I have to say that. It was, you know, when it first came out, a couple of my friends were like, "Oh, can you listen to it online?" I was like, "No, man, you got to buy the vinyl if you want to hear it." You know what I mean? And I think that's genius because like things are so. I mean, I'm not complaining because I like going somewhere and listening to it myself.
Readily accessible, everything, yes. But certain things, you know, that's like a family comp to me. It was, you know, bands or offshoots of bands to new projects of friends of ours over the past like quarter of a century. So the idea was, you know, get all that shit together, make it beautiful, and, you know, make it available to the people that really care about that shit and like really want to fuck with it. You know, you don't have to, it's cool, but as far as comps go, you know, and for what it's worth, I guess it doesn't matter what I say, but I think that it's a pretty damn cool comp. Like, even if I had nothing to do with it, I would be like, yo, that's a sick comp, and I would, you know, I'd definitely be into it. So, because, you know, the bands speak for themselves. You listen to the songs and you know what it is. You're just like, you know, it's incredible. And there's great bands. Edgar's on there, Still Suit, like you said, Gospel's on there, Christhead.
Yeah.
There's 12 bands on there. One of Mike D's many bands, Faithless, is on there. So, and of course Mecca's band,
Yep.
which is Kaiju Daisenzo. They opened it up with a cover of Rodin, which is a States of Seed song that they had asked me to sing on too.
Yeah.
So that's a fun song. But yeah, that comp is dope, man. And again, it's labor of love. Like I have a whole stack of them over there. But I still have some of those purple and black smokes, which are really nice. If you don't have one, I'm gonna send you one.
No, I don't have it.
Do you have that?
Yeah,
No?
the good
I'll
thing,
send you one,
like
definitely.
vinyl wise for me, is because I didn't have a record player, but luckily my daughter just got a record player for Christmas, so now access to a record
There
player.
you go.
So the only vinyl I had like an Anton Boardman split 7-inch that I sent to Ron from Gene Scene because I didn't have a record player and I had sold everything else, and that was the only thing I just was like, here, you want this? Like, I'll send it to you. And then my daughter got that for Christmas, and I
Love
ended
it.
up buying the Reversal of Man photography just because like they're one of my favorite bands of all time. I love those guys too, Matt and Jeff. Like I love that band. So I
Yeah.
bought that just to have it, and then I got a
Yeah, that's so sick too.
so like
Triple LP.
that band is.
How you beat that?
When I saw that
You
band
can't
up in
beat
New
that.
Hampshire, I
Yeah.
was fucking blown away. It was such an incredible show. It was like Jerome's Dream, them, Assuck, Bastion, which was like people from Light the Fuse and Run and Force Fed Glass. Frodis played that show. And
Oh, shit.
I was like, shit, this Reversal Man was so crazy when I saw him. And Assuck, I was a huge Assuck fan too. The shitty thing is, like, there was a bunch of fights at the end of Assuck's set, so it got shut down like early because there was like a bunch of.
Right.
Well, I didn't see too much of it, but I did see some scrums. It was like crust punks versus like kind of jockey, like hardcore kid. So,
That's hilarious.
But yeah, just talking. Like, I love talking about old shows. I mean, like I said, I always ask you the stuff you've seen. I've seen a lot of stuff up here as well, and I try to document everything I saw. Luckily, unluckily, I didn't get that, and I didn't get when I saw States of Seeds because I didn't have a camera at that time, which sucks because that fest was something crazy. You know what I mean?
Dude, those early fests, like 9 fests and like More Than Music and like what was that, Tompkins Square Riot Gathering? Dude, that shit was bananas, man. All those bands like Puritan played, Sleepy Time, 400 Years, like yeah, all those early bands and those shows. Ethel Reserve, one of the greatest bands ever. I love that band. Yeah, that was them and Seisha played in the basement, I think. Of
do you have videotape of stuff that you haven't like anybody seen? You know,
we have Helen videotape. I know Vinny has a lot of Helen videotape. He's good with that. He hangs on to stuff, thank God. So,
it's stuck on
8mm,
so or is it out on like YouTube right now?
No, it's not on YouTube. I think he's put a couple things up, but I know he has a good amount of stuff, and I probably do too. And a good amount of that might be on VHS, which is awesome. But you can get everything transferred now, so I can put some stuff together.
That's
definitely.
what I want to see. I was asking Brian from They and the Children. I don't know if you know that band. He did a lot of Connecticut shows, set up a lot of Connecticut shows, and I was asking him everything that I've like videotaped, even in Boston and stuff like that. I see 1 million people videotaping, 1 million people taking pictures. I don't see shit from any of these shows, and I always ask like, "Oh, do you have like the people that set up the shows? Like, oh, did anybody send you anything?" And everybody's like, "Nah." I feel like everything's just in people's closets. Like, they're dying to see this shit, you know what I mean? And
Hell yeah. That's true, man. Yeah. Brian was saying something about, I don't know, he just was saying something about that fest. He used to take photographs like there's no tomorrow. Like all the closure pictures and Sasha pictures that I put up, they're all photographs he took.
Yeah.
I have a stack of States of Seeds photos like this that Brian took, and incredible shots. Him and a friend of ours, Rob, took a lot of nice photos from back then as well. But yeah, man, all those early photos, that's all Brian. And Brian was in Kill the Trader with us, and he played in Helen with us too in the beginning for a bit. There was like a lot of interchangeable parts with Helen. A lot of people played with us like over the course of time. But it was always fun, man. It was always a party. Yeah, we definitely gave it our damnedest.
So speaking of Sunken Temple, what's next for your release on Sunken Temple?
So the split with Wenches will be the next in the catalog. Then we have a I'm not sure like if I'm supposed to say it yet. So a Mike D band. There's going to be a release that's done on vinyl, and we'll be doing the tape version of it, which is awesome, which is very exciting. We also have some other stuff that we're trying to work out that is going to be bananas if we can get it to go, because it needs to be done. And that's kind of, what the idea behind Sunken Temple is to make sure that stuff that needs to physically exist exists. So there's a lot of interest in a lot of the older bands, the bands that we grew up playing with and being around, and people want access to that music. So I think to get the kids of the world access to Closure on vinyl and like the entire Mountain catalog, from like Half Man, like whatever, just all of that stuff. People need that. So, Sunken Temple is about trying to resurrect that and like not let that stuff get lost, in addition to, putting energy behind new stuff and like, always making sure that there's nothing that's just fallen by the wayside that needs to be kept alive. Like that's nice. That's what I want to do with the label.
Awesome.
Just
that's awesome.
Keep the shit alive. So.
All right. Well, I know you're a family man. I know I know you had the day off.
No,
I don't want to
man.
hold you on here for too long, but like I said, it was an honor to get to talk to you.
Thank you, brother. And really appreciate talking to you as well.
A great New Year's, and definitely we're gonna meet up in Pittsburgh. Hopefully, we meet up before then. Maybe I'll take a little New York trip. I know my wife was talking about taking my oldest to New York for a little while, so I might take a little excursion your way. So.
Absolutely, man. Let me know. Let me know if you come out here.
I want to say thank you to anybody that's watched this, listened to this. I'll put this up on my regular page, and then it'll be up on my YouTube channel. And I love all you guys. I love Vinny. I love Mike D. I love and Brian. Thank you for watching. And I'd love to see any other photos you have. You're saying you and I, anything that I haven't seen, I'd love to see. So. Hats off to everybody that watches, my thing here, and anybody that listens to this Legends bands right here. I salute. Love you guys, brother. And I hope you have a great night. Let's stay in touch anytime you want. Like, listen, I'm always up for you to hit me up, or I'll hit you up.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, you'll be hearing
brother.
from me definitely.
Love you.
Let's keep chopping it.
Happy New Year.
All right, man. Love you, man. Happy New Year, brother.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.